as you know, yesterday, Trump announced his tariffs. And my advice is don't look at your portfolio right now.
Because it's melting down, probably.
Yeah, pretty much. Because I was looking at it yesterday and was like, I thought I had a lot more money than I do.
How much money you have?
Yeah, so I mean, there's one thing I had. I'll just say it dropped about 6%, which is pretty significant. And because you guys know how like certain numbers change. You're like, wait, I thought I had more than that. So it is what it is. But I want to share tariffs thoughts with you guys. We're here in Korea, and it's going to be a little bit different than what you hear in USA. So, for example, what are some of the things that they're saying in Korea about the tariffs?
So yesterday, the Trump holding kind of panel,
Right.
but it was a 25%
On the panel.
on the panel. But later, then actual percentage is 26%.
Yeah.
It was off.
No, but it's actually pretty significant. Even though yes, it sounds like 1%, but when you're talking about this amount of goods going in and out of the country, it matters quite a lot. Other ways that Koreans are pissed off these days is Hyundai actually promised to build a plant and invest money in USA, and now Trump's like threatening tariffs on Korea, and they're not really sure. Like, wait, I thought we made a deal, because you can't trust word.
According to our news set, how they're calculating is very simply.
Yeah.
They don't really care about other conditions. Just import, export, divide something. So, and you guys act like, oh, we wanted to go for the 100% before, but we are only go 50%. So you're so generous.
Yeah, that's what many people said. The way they calculated the tariffs seemed kind of arbitrary, meaning that like it didn't really make a lot of sense. Some of the numbers were off. That's what I explained to you.
And wrong.
Yeah. Other things they did as well, which we all have been joking, is like, why are you putting tariffs on penguins? Is this a joke? Because there's a lot of these like little islands that there's no people living there. Because that was the first thing that jumped out to me, and I did a video on it when it first came out. It's like, I hadn't even heard of some of these places that were on the list. What's that?
If you want to sell the gold cards to the penguins.
Maybe we're threatened by penguins in USA, and we got to make sure to hit them with the tariffs. Other things that was noticeable as well is a lot of smaller countries, developing ones like Cambodia, Vietnam.
But
these kind of countries are.
But there you're saying they're a small country, but those are countries who has the most manufacture. Look at your clothes. Nike, Adidas, or even your Gap, whatever. Your Lululemon.
Yeah, H&M, all these kind of companies.
Almost every like clothing company they have a factory there. So those kind of costs is gonna go double too.
Yeah, so
one of the American brand.
Yeah, so one of the things that I've been hearing is that, in Trump's point of view, okay, he's like, okay, I'm going to put all of these tariffs on Vietnam, and then Vietnam's going to build a bunch of clothing factories in USA. It doesn't really make sense, because let's just play this logically through. Let's say an American company that we all know, Nike, makes shoes in Vietnam. So if there are tariffs from products from Vietnam, even though it's an American company, and then the price of Nikes go up, do you think Nike's then going to suddenly start making shoes in America? Is that something that we're going to do?
And even if they do, you want to work there.
Yeah, that's another point, right?
Yeah, they need a worker, cheap worker, but you don't want to work for cheap, right?
Because theoretically, if they did it, okay, if they had to pay American wages, which is much, much higher than some in Vietnam, it would either eat their margins incredibly. Because remember, our economy, our policy decisions, a lot of it's controlled by the stock market. And from the American capitalist point of view, is we just want stocks to go up, right? We want to push that profit margin, so they look for cheaper labor to make a profit. You guys should know this inherently. Just to give you just a kind of an idea, a place like a Vietnam, maybe a yearly pay of a worker could be like $6,000, something like that, something in that nature. So you guys know this in USA. You make $6,000 a month, right? In that range, just a general idea. So you're making what, 10 times, 12 times more than the Vietnamese worker. Like it's a gross disparity. Also, like, is it easy to build factories, say Nike shoe factories in USA? Can you do it in one day? Is that possible?
Of course not.
Of course not, right? Like you need You got to build the physical building. You got to build like the roads, right? These
Yeah.
kind of things.
Yeah, you need to recruit people.
Yep. Then you're gonna have to train people, recruit people, right?
And, recruiting means hire their family to move the whole family there.
Right. So you're gonna need schools,
School,
infrastructure,
hospital,
all these things. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
But,
don't expect this to happen
yeah,
like
hospital,
overnight.
police, but Trump government, they're gonna all fire them, so nothing's gonna be there.
Yeah. So and that's actually an important point is where oftentimes American companies will hire Canadians. Okay. And Canadians, it's a different situation than the Americans because sometimes when America and Canada, you only compare wages, but it's not like a direct comparison because in Canada you actually have support of, say, affordable health care. In USA, the way the American system works, if you vote Republican, you don't care about health care. Just be honest. Like you guys just want the way they talk is like, we're just going to lower your taxes, but forget about schools, forget about health care, forget about roads. But hey, we're going to cut your taxes. Like it's for regular people, that's not that beneficial. For the average person, you're better off having public schools, public transportation, public health care, these kind of things. That's why I always mention it on the channel because it's not something that, that the Trump people, they're always going to, this is what Trump says. He says, we're going to have no taxes on overtime. As if I want to work overtime.
Yeah.
Like, do I, or he'll say like, hey, no tax on tips, as if I want to be a waitress, right? That's the kind of crap that they promote. Like he thinks of you as essentially you're all waiters and waitresses.
And he thinks a grocery, the word itself is really cool word.
Yeah, really special. I showed you guys a video about that the other day. The other thing with the tariffs is that what's going to end up happening is all the other countries are going to like screw it. I don't need to trade with USA anymore. Like
but
why
they
bother?
say it's the negotiable, later that, but I don't know how it's gonna work.
So that's actually an interesting point. So Trump sent out all his people go on TV, and you know how they have like a message of the day. So the message of the day of Trump's people is that nothing's negotiable, which is really on Trump's people. But then Trump himself said, "Oh, I'm going to negotiate with people." So it was like it was a mixed message. Yeah, that they're incompetent. These people. They're always giving out mixed things. Probably how they want it to play out is that Trump wants to take phone calls with businesses and he wants to get bribes. That's their plan. That's part of their plan. Bribes meaning that hey Trump, I'll give you $1 million or $20 million or whatever. Let me into your country and don't charge any tariffs on us.
And give me your gold card.
Yeah. Let me explain what the gold card is, and I'll get Yeji's thoughts on it. So the gold card is part of that. Basically, it is designed to replace a green card for wealthy people. Do you remember how much it costs?
Like 5 million?
Yeah, it was 5 million. And on the gold card, yeah.
When you showed me, it's like, what the, it's like, what?
Yeah, that's literally what she said when I showed her. It was like,
it's better than Monopoly game card is better than this.
That's exactly what it looks like. It's a Monopoly kind of game card. He's proud of this thing. He said that he would be the first buyer. It actually he would buy his own gold card, but it didn't really make sense because
But he's citizen.
Yeah.
Why is talking?
Like what are you talking about? And so they asked him also who is buyer number 2. He said he didn't know. They're going to release this thing in a couple of weeks. Evidently, it could be for all we know, right? So that plays into sort of. I'm just telling you their plan. Their plan is to sort of sell off, these sort of special privileges to get access to the U.S. market. They're gonna try to profit off of that kind of stuff. It's all.
But even if I can buy, I don't want to buy Trump face.
Yeah, that's not something you prize, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so here's another way it could play out. So let's say we use the example of Nike again, or how about H&M is fine, right? So let's say
like Gap,
Well, I'm gonna use a non-American company. Okay, we'll use Zara, H&M, or whatever. And you guys should know these companies. So let's say H&M's like, you know what? There's tariffs on where we make clothes, be it Sri Lanka, Vietnam, Cambodia, something like that. Let's just not go to the U.S. market. It's not worth it, right? Because they're just putting too many tariffs, and it's just not worth it. So let's just close all our stores in USA and go somewhere else. Now, from Trump's point of view, it'd be like, okay, yeah, now our American companies are going to do great, but like, there are certain things that countries have like a Zara, like an H&M that maybe we can't replace so easily, right? Theoretically, the gap is jumping up and down, but in these situations, like for example, fashion, cars, any sort of thing, there are some industries where American companies just aren't as popular.
Not anymore.
Yeah, yeah. Like for example, guys, wine. So regardless of what the tariffs are going to be, people are still going to like French wine. Right? It may cost more,
Yeah.
but the people are going to
They're
still
still
like it.
enjoying the wine, you know. Some people don't care the cost.
And I mentioned wine because it's an interesting example, or French products like Chanel, or any kind of handbag.
Yeah, handbag, or there, you know, it's more go to luxury category. So if
Yeah.
you have that, oh, you're real.
Right.
Right? If you are wearing only American stuff, are you poor?
Right. So I'm gonna give you an example, a couple ones. Just wine and bags. Another one is cars.
Yeah,
is a good one.
yeah.
So cars is an interesting one because Trump people are out saying, oh, we buy all these European cars, we buy these Japanese cars, but they don't buy our cars, and it's just unfair.
You don't even buy your own car.
Right. Okay. That was the point. I think you get it already. So if you look at the cars, and I grew up in the 80s in the USA, and when the Japanese cars first come, there was all these like basically same kind of people, Trump kind of people. They would take sledgehammers to Japanese cars, and they would do these like protests. It's like, we hate these little, small, efficient cars. We just want big trucks because we're American, right? And there's some people who still want to drive the big American truck that gets terrible mileage, gets terrible efficiency, right? But the consumer as a whole, they like their Toyota Camrys, they like their Toyota Corolla, they like their Honda Accord, they like their Honda Civic. They want a cheap, small car that gets good efficiency.
Yeah.
And it's the same in Europe. Like it's not that Europeans necessarily just hate Americans, is that we don't make the products that they're going to buy. If you guys understand what we're saying, it's not just the tariffs. The Trump people try to say it's just about tariffs, but like, here in Korea, there's certain things that just don't appeal to us. I promise you, Tesla's not going to outsell Hyundai or Kia. It's not going to happen. I'll give you another example. What's that?
It's not just that, a lot of Chinese car companies coming into.
I was just going to mention the Chinese thing. So what's the biggest problem that most Koreans have when you buy a Chinese product? What are they thinking about Chinese products?
As a Korean, we are really care about after service system.
Okay, after service. So is there a network in place that if the thing breaks, will it still work?
And even if we like crash each other, we just call the insurance company right away.
Right.
Even if a small bump, then you just send it to the service center. But what if the Chinese company doesn't have enough that?
And actually, Tesla is known for having terrible service.
Yeah.
So I can't speak to BYD because they just entered the Korean market. But the point is, if you want to enter this market, you can't do business the same way as in the market in the USA. You're right. The AS, they call it after service, is really, really different here. People care about that. In USA, it's funny because we generally consider the warranty, like buying the after service, to be a ripoff. I never recommend it, but here in Korea, like everybody wants said thing. The other thing is, like, what do Koreans think about Chinese-made products in terms of quality?
We still think made in Korea is better.
Right.
We still think that.
Yeah, so
people start buying, like,
well, you see the price, right? You're like, oh, it's like 20% cheaper, something like that. Because actually, it's fascinating when you go to the department store and you look at electronics. So like a big one, or I think appliances, right? Not electronic, but like a refrigerator. I think you have a choice between Chinese made or Korean made in many of these kind of products.
It's LG, the same product. I prefer Korean made.
Sure. We have the same situation.
But it was almost 100만 won different.
Like $1,000 different, like
like 800 different.
Yeah, so we have the same situation in USA. There was a time, which because I want to make sure you guys make this clear. I do understand when Trump says, we need to make more stuff in America. We want that Made in America sticker. There was a time when that was like a lot of pride to Americans. There were, like, for example, with clothes is kind of a funny one. They used to run commercials. I think this was back in the 70s. And the commercial was like, look for the union label. So it basically meant like, that's made in USA. Or they used to really stress that we're going to only buy America, made in America. So that would be cars or these kind of situation. Then we got in a weird kind of a dilemma for many Americans because they didn't really quite understand it. Is what if you have a foreign brand, like, so we'll use the example Toyota, that comes and builds a plant in USA. So it's a foreign brand, but it's made in
USA.
Yeah. So it changed the way people started thinking about brand, because it is a foreign brand. It's true.
Yeah.
But it's made in USA, and you have to think about, like, when we talk about tariffs and stuff like that, Trump and their people, they want to take us like back in time. They want to rewind everything, and they want to turn you all into factory workers, essentially. Maybe some people want that.
Maybe. Yeah.
And there's nothing wrong with working in a factory. Like if I'm gonna say, if they pay you a decent wage, if they give you benefits, if they protect you. The problem is, though, like, in their world, he doesn't like unions, right? So
if you join the union, you fired.
Yeah. Well, so that's supposed to be illegal.
Yeah.
But Musk and Trump will actually joke about that, where like they'll, what's the right word to say? We intimidate union activities. We call it union busting. They did a podcast together, like, Trump was telling Musk how awesome Musk was, because Musk is really good at firing people. He's like, yeah, Musk, your companies, when they talk about you just fire them. You're just awesome. And it's just like, that's generally illegal. Like, you're not supposed to intimidate workers, because there's something positive about a union to where you band together as workers, right? And you protect yourself. These days, actually, Trump wants to make government workers illegal to have a union. That's been the recent thing. And a lot of this tariff stuff, there was one of the Trump people was on TV today. His name is Stephen Miller. He says kind of like Nazi stuff usually. And he was expressing past World War II, this awkward way of talking about American history. Basically, the way he was saying is like, we won the war, and we won the world, and everyone has to buy stuff from us because we won the war. And it was kind of what's that?
What?
No, he just did that yesterday. He was just saying. Actually, I wouldn't say yesterday. It was like about 4 hours ago. It was a really awkward. I may play a video for you on another separate video, but it was really awkward to say. And I understand his sort of Nazi point of view. I get it. I'm not stupid, but they have a bad misrepresentation of history. And I just want to go over this. I've said this several times on the channel. So the Americans were wealthy, say in the 50s, 1950s, because in World War II, the Americans built up all their factories. They got the production going, and all the other countries were destroyed in World War II. That's what happened. The American homeland and the factories were still intact. And so when the rest of the world rebuilt, the Americans were able to send everything around the world. That was through the Marshall Plan, and foreign goods, foreign companies were buying all of our goods, they were buying our Hollywood movies, etc. Now, fast forward, we're in year 2025, okay? This is not, I haven't even calculated, is that like 80 years ago now?
Yeah.
Is that right? Yeah, they keep quoting 70 years ago. I'm not sure why the Trump people keep saying 70, but if you want to say 70 or 80, but they want to go, literally they're saying, oh, our country's been, bad for the last 70 years, but you can't go back in time. You can try, but it's just, the example I want to give you is like, watch our last video. Here in Korea, we're modernized, and literally the democracy is stronger in Korea right now than it is in USA. We just impeached the president.
What are you guys doing?
I mean, they're trying to go backwards in USA. It's
no, I mean, regular people in the Congress, what are you guys doing?
Yeah, people keep asking that.
Yeah.
People get like, how are you letting Musk just do?
Destroy, the country.
Right. Well, that's why we make videos. People need to pay attention to stuff. It is really important.
He has 2 other passports.
Yeah, I know. So like when Musk always talks about being a patriot and loving America, it's like, okay, so why do you have 2 other passports? It's like he's a citizen of South America, a citizen of Canada, and a citizen of the USA. Regarding the whole like going back in time, and the point I'm trying to make is it's a different era. So in the 1950s, say, when maybe America's the only company that's making like a lot of cars, a lot of TVs, etc. Things change. In the 1980s, Japan was making a lot of TVs, a lot of radios, stuff like that. Now we have Korea makes your refrigerators, your TVs, etc. It's different. It's different. Countries specialize in stuff, and you can't expect the U.S. companies to suddenly make a bunch of TVs. It's theoretically they could. I would say theoretically, but this is something that would take years of time. It's not just going to happen in one presidency. And so I think a lot of the countries are probably just going to ride it out.
Yeah.
Let Trump does what he does. We're going to go and do our own thing.
Yeah.
Bye bye America. See you, that kind of stuff. Because it's not worth trying to reorganize all of it.
No.
It's not even possible to reorganize all of your factories and supply chain in such a short period of time.
It's gonna be hard, but we can't just call USA.
Right. Well, I mean, because countries do need to send goods to the USA,
Yeah.
but if USA doesn't want to trade,
Yeah,
they don't want to trade, right? Yeah. Another thing that is important to talk about with trade and tariffs is you have to understand how things are traded. Okay. So, for example, let's say in a situation of like a steel or something like that, you may get raw material from Canada or Mexico or Japan or whatever country, right? Raw material, right? That will come into the USA. The USA will then turn that into a part and then send it to somewhere else, right? So it's the way they try to talk about trade is like how it's.
They don't even calculate that.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like it.
Yeah.
And even if, for example, we get a raw material, we turn it, we could send it back to them, make money, and then they could send something back to us as like a completed part. Like they could cross the border a couple times with multiple countries. Cars are an interesting one because many of these parts come from like more than one place.
Because
right?
Korea, we might send the bolt.
Yeah. And there'll be like a little company in Korea that all they do is like this little tiny bolt, but it like fits in all kinds of different companies. Like, so this is what we're talking about with the integration. Now, for those of you who are working in USA now, you probably know these kind of things happening because people are probably talking about it at work. The big concern right now that people have is the little companies are going to hurt the most.
Sure, of course.
Why would little companies hurt the most? Do you know why?
Why?
So the basic idea is that like they can't like change the supply chain so easily as like the bigger ones. So like the bigger ones can make the big deal, try to get the better deals, right? They can move around, but the little ones that have to like kind of ride what the other ones are doing. It's just not that easy. Like the little one can't just say, okay, we're just going to pick up everything and go somewhere else and reorganize everything.
And bigger company, they can cost down.
They have the negotiating power too. One of the arguments that the Trump people is making is that China's going to reduce their costs to help with the tariffs. Okay, that was the argument, and I know where he got that is because Walmart talked about that. That was in the news. It was rumored, but you have to read the whole thing and be honest about it. So Walmart was on the phone going, okay, Trump tariffs are coming on. Can you do anything to give us cheaper stuff from China? China's on the phone like, no, it's not going to happen. Like. All of these kind of products.
In the first place, I heard that they're not going to tariff on under $8 products, but they're going to do it.
Yeah, that's it for like the Temu and Shine stuff.
Shein,
Yeah. So they're gonna tariff. They basically just tariff everything.
Yeah.
You'll notice it when you order cheap goods from China. And that's a good example because like Walmart trying to get cheap from China is not going to happen, and then you trying to get cheap stuff from China is not going to happen. The other issue as well is. I think there's been a gross misrepresentation of why jobs have left.
What?
Of why jobs have left USA. They misrepresent it. So they always act like it's foreign countries taking it. But we'll go back to the example of Nike. It's an American company. Nike, the American company, built a factory in Vietnam to build shoes, to make shoes. Right? It wasn't like the Vietnamese, like, I don't know, drove a truck over here and like stole the jobs or something like that. It's not really like that. Literally, I'll repeat it again. Nike's an American company. They went to Vietnam and they built a factory there. Another way to think about it as well, because like J.D. Vance, the vice president, he tried to make the case that American companies don't make money. He said that. He literally actually said in an interview.
And how you're...
I don't know. He's what he said. That's what he said. He's like, those foreign companies, they're making the money. Those foreign countries are making the money. And the American worker, American companies, we're getting cheated. And it's just like, and it's funny, a lot of people cut out in the comments because they repeat again. There's a company called Nike. I'm sure you've heard of it. They built a factory in Vietnam. They found cheaper workers over there, and they make money. I don't think it's hard to understand. You guys understand this, right? It's not that hard to understand. And then the argument that they're going to try to make is, if we put on tariffs, Nike's going to bring their factory back from Vietnam, and you're going to make shoes in the USA. That's the argument they're going to make. And I I don't see it happening. I don't see Americans
I
making
don't see.
shoes.
Are you gonna making shoe?
I don't see it happening. Now, what I do see happening, to be fair, I think theoretically in the future, maybe that all becomes robots.
Yeah.
Theoretically, I think that is a possibility. So, you know, you have to adjust to the jobs that are available to you. So if I'm an American worker right now, I'm learning how to fix robots.
Sure,
Right.
AI, you know, how to training AI, something like
Yeah,
that.
absolutely. Train AI. Now, it's kind of sad because I actually met people like this in LA. Their job was to train AI to replace people. That's basically,
Yeah,
that's
I
basically.
just talked to this morning with my friends. My company, my friend is working at the like biosimilar company.
Right, right.
But they are now planning to change the robot system. They're looking for the robot that can replace the human.
And that's going to create a lot of social problems. So, you know, for example, let's say Elon Musk robot car thing works someday. Probably not going to be Elon. It's probably going to be another company where, you know, someday we'll have robot driving. Someday, maybe 50 years from now, whatever. You're going to have a lot of people out of a job, right? If that ever happens. So, like, people haven't really thought through this. How can I say, you know, social implications of this new technology? But that is the march of technology. The same way we have a computer replace a secretary, the same way we have internet kind of replaces paper mail. You know,
And I read and I watched the China news that there are like self-driving taxi.
right?
They even charge by themselves.
Charged by themselves. What do you mean?
You know, like self-driving taxi. They just go and buy. People pick up and drop off. When need to charge, they just go charge by
Oh, that kind of charge. Oh, okay. And,
themselves. You don't even.
well, the big problem is going to be cleaning those things. I wonder if they clean themselves these days as well. That's, right? Because people are going to throw up in the car, poop in the car, do all that kind of things. But yeah, I can see. Well, I mean, that's what a robot vacuum does now. It charges itself. You know, and the last thing I want to talk with you guys about the tariff thing is that when the other countries make their announcements, which they're going to do, it's going to put Trump in a really awkward spot because is he going to raise tariffs again and then like put the wall so high that, I mean, seriously, no one's trading with the USA.
Maybe later. Oh, I lowered the like 10%, 5%. I'm so generous.
Oh, yeah, right. When we start to go the opposite direction.
He tried to shake hands, but no one's gonna shake his hand.
Yeah, you know, the thing about Trump is like, other countries, they're not stupid. They know Trump's an idiot. I mean, I think we all know. The problem is that the reality is he is president. That's real. So it's like you have to deal with an idiot. It's a real problem. And then the other issue is, as well, is like there's a bunch of Americans that don't see it, right? So that's why we make these videos for you, just have some honest conversation with this stuff. I want to hear your thoughts. And we'll catch you on the next video. So bye.
Bye.